Most people think that leadership notices hard work, and what those people miss, and what I missed for years, is that leadership don't notice the output that you're doing. They're actually noticing the tiny interactions that you have with them. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. You think leadership will be there to reward the effort that you're putting in, the spreadsheets or the output that you're doing, or all those late nights you're spending working and putting in that extra amount of work. But they don't. They only interact with you in meetings or in comments or those presentations that you give. And the truth is, those tiny moments are leadership's entire reality of you. Which is why you could be doing everything right and working extra hard and demonstrating you're ready for the next role, yet you remain completely invisible. Now, you could be thinking, well, how can I be doing all this amazing work and these tiny moments, like these small things, be affecting my entire career? Well, let me show you. So a few years ago, there was this city council and they had two schools, School A and School B. Both had great teachers, great facilities, great academic results. On paper, both of these schools were pretty much identical, except one school was getting constantly praised by parents, whereas the other school was getting hit with a bunch of bad reviews. And the school and the council spent months trying to figure this out. Was it the leadership? Was it the curriculum? Was it the teachers that involved? Well, it turns out it had nothing to do with anything that was going on inside the school. You see, the problem was the parking lot. You see, every morning, parents would get stuck outside of the school for like 20 minutes as they drop off their kids, because there was this really badly designed busy crossroads intersection, and the parents just had to queue up for ages and ages every single morning. And if you think about it, that's the only experience the parents have of that school, right? Because they're not there sitting in the classroom watching the teachers work. They're not there whilst the inspection results are getting done. They're not there to see the academic results of the school, or really what that means for the bigger picture, because they're only interested in their kid. And that's only going to happen once they finish the school anyway. The reality was their entire touch point with the school was a frustrating and bad experience, the waiting in traffic, and that impacted their entire perception of the rest of the school. So it didn't matter that their results were really good, because the parents only interacted with the parking lot. And the same thing can be happening in your career. You could be working hard, putting in that extra effort, staying late, producing really good output, but leadership doesn't live inside your spreadsheets. They don't watch you do those late nights. They're not sat there with you. They're not sitting on your desk watching you work, which is why you can be doing all of this and still not receiving any sort of recognition that you deserve. Because just in the same way that the parents judge their entire experience of the school based on the small interaction in the car park, it doesn't matter how good the school was, because that's all they saw. And the same thing is happening with you. They're only seeing the small parts that you're actually doing. And I call this the iceberg problem. And the iceberg problem goes like this. All that hard work you're doing at the bottom, the weekends and things that you're doing, it's all hidden beneath the surface. Leadership only sees the top part of the iceberg, and that's what they're going to base their decisions on. And you see, once I understood this, the reason I wasn't moving up wasn't because I was less capable. I didn't have a skill problem. What I had was a visibility problem. So if the visible part of your iceberg is clear and strategic and easy to interact with, then you start getting pulled into bigger conversations, bigger roles, bigger opportunities. But if the top is somehow slow or confusing or frustrating, then it doesn't matter how good the work underneath the surface is, because this paints the whole iceberg as something risky. And that's the trap. You see, you could be doing 10 times the work of everyone else, but receiving only half the credit, simply because all of your work is hidden beneath the surface of the iceberg. So if you want to get noticed for your efforts and start getting the recognition that you deserve, then what you have to do is you have to close that visibility gap. And what you have to do to close the visibility gap can seem really counterintuitive at first. I mean, it was to me, because the instinct people have is to start showing them all the work that's happening underneath the surface. But the thing is, that will actually make the visibility gap even bigger. You see, When we're growing up and going through university and school and in the early stages of our career, we're told that hard work means visibility. We're told to stay late, to put in that extra effort, to raise our hand and volunteer for as much work as possible. And yeah, this works at the early stages of your career because that's how you get noticed and you climb the ladder. But at some point, you reach a point on that ladder where this no longer works. And the surprising thing about it is, it's actually counterproductive to your goals, because when it comes to leadership, hard work and all this extra effort doesn't mean a good job. It actually just makes them suspicious. Because when leadership sees someone putting in all this extra work, rechecking everything they're doing, being extremely diligent in their processes and their output, they don't think, wow, this person's really thorough at their job. What they think is, why is this taking so much effort? Have they overcomplicated it? Are they really thinking about the bigger picture? Because in leadership's mind, the real value isn't about doing more. It's about creating results that are faster and clearer and smarter. And when you overload all of these details, it signals that you're not actually ready for the next step in your career. I mean, think about it. Would you hire someone who's barely keeping their head above water, putting in tons of effort and basically drowning every day just to keep up with everyone else? Which again, remember, in leadership's eyes, they're only seeing the small parts of you. So comparatively, you look like you're struggling and drowning in the everyday work, whereas that guy that makes it look really easy, well, he's doing an excellent job. So that's why they get selected for the next opportunities. And once you realize this, you'll make the same mistake I did, thinking that, okay, I'll show them all the work that I'm doing beneath the surface. I'll make sure that they see everything I'm doing. And the instinct you have to do all this extra work and show them is, again, counterproductive. It's going to make that visibility gap wider. And let me show you what I mean. So think of it like this. Imagine you ask someone to how to make a turkey and cheese sandwich, and instead of a straightforward answer, they hand over something like this: source organic free-range turkey breasts, preferably raised at a latitude between 30 and 45 degrees for optimal muscle fiber temperature. Prepare a sourdough starter 3 days in advance, and blah blah blah. And this goes on for like 5 pages, right? I mean, technically very accurate, very thorough, very good job. Practically completely overwhelming, frustrating. You can't actually use these instructions to do anything. All they wanted was a turkey sandwich, and you handed them a dissertation. Now imagine instead someone just hands you this. You take 2 slices of bread, add turkey cheese and your choice of spread, done. It's clear, it's simple, and there's no frustration. And that's how leadership will experience you if you try and show them all the work underneath the surface. If you overwhelm them with bunch of slide decks and 200 bullet points and all this work and reports that you're putting in, then you're that 5-page turkey sandwich. They don't think, wow, this is really good work. They think, why is this so complicated? And when it comes to leadership, complexity means risk. And you could be thinking, well, Josh, how am I supposed to do all this work and make it visible without actually showing them anything? And well, I've got this list of phrases that I use all the time, and I call it my little corporate spell book, because that's what it's like. I mean, really, you just say what you're doing, but structured slightly differently to put the impact first, and then just watch how it magically makes them see you differently. And you can download this phrase book as well as a bunch of other things that you can start using today in your next meeting that are going to start helping you get more visible in the workplace without sounding pushy or playing any sort of politics or anything like that. And so giving clear updates like that to leadership are going to start putting you way ahead of everyone else. But if you continue down that path, you're still only going to be playing the support character. You see, what leadership really promote are the people who guide the conversation. But one thing that I used to think when I was a few steps back in my career is, but I'm not senior enough to be telling leadership what to do, or I'm probably overstepping if I say these kind of things, or maybe they just want what they ask for. Maybe they want the turkey sandwich recipe. But what finally unlocked my career was realizing that it isn't about overstepping. It's about positioning yourself in a way that allows you to provide updates to leadership in a way that demonstrates the work that you're doing in the language that they can understand. So let me show you what I mean by that. You have three different types of update that you can give to leadership. You have reactive. For example, this project is 70% complete. And this pictures you as the worker bee in leadership's mind, because you're waiting to be asked and then you give the answer to the question that they asked. And this gives the impression to leadership that maybe you need some supervision. The next level is descriptive. It's where you give them more detail without being asked. I mean, this is better, but leadership still have to figure out what this means. They will think, okay, but what am I supposed to do with that? And they'll see you as some kind of coordinator. But then you've got prescriptive updates. This is where you show them the situation, the risk, and what you recommend without needing to be asked. And then leadership don't think, well, this person's overstepping his boundaries. They think, oh, finally, someone who gets it and has made my life easier. You see, ownership of things is prescription. It's not about saying, here things are and just this is what I've done, but it's about what we need to do next and why. Because the visibility gap isn't closed by turning up more often and doing more work. It's closed by showing up differently in the moments that leadership notice you.